All right, we are back with Audrey this week, and Audrey has been checking out the Reseller Revenue Facebook groups boot camp, and she's been checking out some of the morning calls. I've seen her in there. And so she was just letting me know that she's been doing some sourcing, but not a lot because she had some stuff ordered and was waiting on them. And she had told me that she's going through her bookkeeping process, which is awesome. And she bought Cheryl's workbook, so she's on her way. And then she was telling me about how, when we order things and they come in, we got to keep a handle on them. So what I was going to tell you is I didn't used to do very good at that either. But if we're going to keep cost of goods where you start to realize like what auction houses you want to do business with again, which ones you don't, it's really good just to keep a notebook. And when you place an order, either eBay, any of the auction sites, wherever you're purchasing from, just jot down the date you ordered it, price that you're expecting to pay. And of course, we don't always know shipping, but you can add that later. And then the number of items you expect to get, because sometimes you get it and it's not your full order. And then I would also make an email folder that's like sourcing, and then you can make it into and then I move it into sourcing ordered. I have a folder and I have a folder that's called sourcing received. So when I move it from the sourcing ordered folder to the sourcing received, that's when I record it in Cheryl's workbook. And then I go back where I, kept a little list of, hey, I ordered this. And then I check it off because now I know it's recorded in my bookkeeping. And that's also when I make sure and I check that original invoice and make sure, that I got everything I wanted or that I was supposed to have. And then I can pencil in my shipping if I need to. Also, I will make notes on like, hey, I realized that that auction house doesn't check for signatures. That place had some gold in it. The shipping was reasonable. And
Oh,
I make
that's so
notes.
smart.
I make
Mm.
notes on the auction houses because there's some I'll never do business with again, right? Some of them are better than others. Some of them will single out and you can tell they picked out all the good stuff, probably sold it ahead of time or whatever. So make notes on that. And then what I do is I have an ongoing list in my phone saved under auctions as a contact auctions. And then I just keep under the notes, I have ones that are that I look for that I really like, because then when I just have a few minutes to browse the auction sites, I'll just go directly to their sites and check theirs. So you'll get to have a favorites list kind of what you like to do. Same way with sellers on eBay, save the sellers that you, hey, I ordered this lot and it was really good, and then continue to shop from them. So that's how I would record them in and then move them over to the next folder when you're done.
Okay, I like that. Yeah.
How did you record the cash you said you took out for the church rummage sale?
Let me take a look here.
Like when you went to the ATM machine, did you do anything at that point?
I did not. No. No, and I
Uh,
have it on here, the cost that I paid, but I didn't put like I'm looking at the cost of goods calculator right now. I put it
mhm.
on here, but it doesn't really record on here actually where the money came from. I'm sure that's going to be another.
So bookkeeping, this is like one of those bookkeeping accounting things, how they're different. So for I don't know if you knew this, but I was a tax professional for 16 years, so I'm fairly well versed in business taxes, and I do always usually follow what Cheryl says. She's got great advice. But when you take that ATM withdrawal of cash for your business out, even though it's coming out of your business account, keep the ATM receipt. I keep an old bank envelope, like one of those old vinyl bank zipper envelopes in my car,
Okay.
and a mini stapler in there, and then I will take that ATM receipt and I'll write, of course it has the date and the cash on it. And then if I spend $200 at the flea market or I spend 150 at a garage sale, I note, hey, I took this much of that cash. I went to the garage sale. I took this much out, and then just jot like jewelry, or it doesn't have to be an itemized list. But then if you go to get audited on that cash, they will take that as a form of it. And then you can transfer it. When you transfer it to Cheryl's workbook, then you can just put check mark on it, or whatever. And then that's when I bring it in and file it. But anything in my car, then that way, if you're busy, you just chuck the receipts in that bag and they'll be there when you want to deal with them.
Okay. So Cheryl's worksheet is bookkeeping,
Hmm.
right? That's the bookkeeping.
But
And
it will cover your accounting also.
It will, okay, because one of the questions that I wanted to ask either her or you, and I'm gonna try, I never know for sure if I'm gonna be able to be available in the afternoons. It just depends on how things go at work tomorrow. I'm gonna try to get on her call, but is if, I just want to make sure, I don't want to duplicate. I don't want to pay for this wave accounting if everything that I have in need
It
is
will
in the
be.
worksheet that I
At the
bought.
end of the year, you'll be able to hand it over to your accountant and you're done.
Okay, very cool. All right, wonderful. So yeah, I'm gonna try to, I need to try to get more knowledgeable on how to use all the stuff that's in there. So I'm gonna
So
try to jump on her
on
calls.
on her site, that
Mhm.
Saw Cheryl site, her main personal site, there's a whole series of beginner workbook videos.
Oh,
And if you watch those, you'll be able to use your workbook at the end.
okay, very cool. All right, what did you say it was? Saw Cheryl?
Yeah, and I think her links are all in the email that you got your workbook link in. All of
Okay,
her
I'll
stuff
check
is in
back
there.
on that.
Yep,
Very
very good.
good. Well, that's great to know, because I definitely don't want to be paying for something that I don't need.
Nope. She even does taxes too. So if you decide that you want her to do taxes at the end of the year too, she does taxes. Or you can
Okay,
just hand that to your, like literally, I save a copy of my workbook and I send it to my farm accountant and it's done.
very
Easy peasy.
good.
Mhm. So how are sales going?
I feel like it's been a slow week. It's kind of crazy. It's like, I was out of town for 10 days and I wasn't really listing during that time, but I didn't put my store on vacation because I had somebody here that would do the shipping for me, but I didn't encourage sales by not listing, right? So, and I feel like I was selling more. And that's like twice that I've gone out of town where things like started to sell as soon as I wasn't at home. So,
It feels that way
um,
sometimes.
yeah, so anywho, I was looking at the eBay number track here. Do you want to see this? Do you want me to share my screen so I can show you
Sure, you
over the
can.
last
Yep.
couple weeks?
Hmm.
Okay. Yeah, this was an eye-opening. Let's see, I think that does the trick. Let me know if I got that right.
It's thinking about it. It takes it a minute sometimes.
Okay.
You have more than one screen, maybe it's on the wrong screen.
All right. Did it just pop up right now?
There you go. Yep.
Okay,
You
very
have
good.
it. Perfect.
So, yeah, I was a little disappointed, you know. It's good. It's so good to know than to be just vague and in the dark about how you're actually really doing, which was basically what I was because I wasn't keeping track of the numbers. I was like, you know, looking at my sales and I knew, you know, what I was actually sending into my bank account was a fraction of that. But you know, the vagueness is not good. So this was, you know, like this number right here, that was, I mean, but that was when I was out of town.
Hmm.
And actually this number right here, when I was figuring that out, if you look over here, so that's between, I think, these dates right here that I have highlighted in yellow.
Hmm.
It was like $400. So that surprised me that I had spent that much money sourcing. And these are the things that I'm either looking for or haven't arrived yet for the most part. So I haven't actually been able to list them. And I do kind of feel like they're some of my better buys, at least one of them. So I'm kind of hopeful that, you know, I'll have a nice turnaround on that. I could show you what it is real quick. Do you want to see it? Because I have
Sure.
it open here.
No, that'd be fine.
Let's see here.
CT bids has pretty decent stuff sometimes.
You know, until you mentioned it, I never even thought about or considered buying lots on eBay because I just figured like, why would they sell good stuff in a lot on eBay when they could make more money selling it individually? And I just thought that it would be things that were not really worth it. But I've come to realize that that's actually not true, and that people actually make that their business model and don't want to list things out individually, and probably have really great sources where they get lots of stuff and they can do that and it works well for them, you know. But
They're not jewelry sellers, right? So you won't find me buying lots from jewelry sellers on eBay. I buy lots from people that don't want to mess with the jewelry on eBay.
okay, okay.
Because a jewelry seller like
Actually,
me, I would not recommend buying a high-end lot from me. Like I'm not going to give you, you're not going to have any amazing surprises if I can help it, right? So,
right.
um,
That's
decent
kind of
stuff.
how I thought everybody was. And it was actually me trying to buy my first lot on eBay was when my card kept getting declined. And I was like, what is going on? And I finally called the bank and they told me about these. Somebody had tried to buy like $5,000 worth of auto parts with my card. So,
Oh, nice.
anywho, this is the lot that I'm waiting on that I was in a little bit of a, I mean, it didn't get that high. It was $57. I think it's 11 pins in total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, or 10, 4, yeah, 11. So this is the one that I'm waiting on. Some of them are marked, and I know that like we got to learn to follow the trends. That's one of the things that I've been learning from you, and like what was trendy before. So that one's Trifari. Is maybe not necessarily trendy now. That one's Monet.
But you're going to get to where then you're comping this stuff and you got to find your own trend niche. So that's good. This will give you
Right.
some stuff to
So,
look at.
anyways, so this is what I feel like it's maybe one of my better buys. I guess we'll see how it turns out in the end. And then I also got, let's go back.
Sorry, I was sitting on an earring. It's like, what is
I also got this lot of women's watches, which I've done okay with in the past. I got some more watches for $3 each that are all working. At that rummage sale that I went to a few days ago. I haven't listed those yet, but yeah, again, this hasn't shown up yet. So we'll see how that turns out.
my son sells watches.
Yeah, I don't know that I want to. I'm kind of figuring out as I go, like what I want to
Yep.
do more of and what I don't, and what I want to take the time to learn and what I don't, and kind of refining it slowly as I go. So I'm
Yep.
not 100% sure, but sometimes like when I'm on it, when I'm in an auction, and I'm feeling like I don't want to pay like the shipping fees and whatnot for like one thing if there's a lot more room in the box, and if I can get something for $1 or $2, it might not be something that I typically sell, but if I can make some money off of it, I might go ahead and just say throw that in there too. So anyway, so I'm learning how this stuff works too. I'm getting to I used to bid on things right away. Now I wait to the end to bid. And a
Mhm.
lot of the times I'll go through ahead of time and just click watch on stuff that I'm interested in, so that when the end of the auction is coming up, I can just go through and look at the things that I've already decided that I'd like to watch, instead of like trying to sort through everything at the last minute.
Yep. That's a
So I'm
good way
kind
to do
of
it.
refining that little process as I go and learning, how to do that better.
When you get your
Um,
lots in, when these lots come or any of your lots come that you've ordered, if you have the ability to with your camera or with your phone, whatever, sometimes what I think people learn a lot from, and you're going to be like, if we do a video today and you open a lot, go through it and talk to us, like, and then we do one in 3 months from now, your reaction to the exact same lots are going to be totally different because you're learning. Same way with me. I'm
yeah.
not I learn all the time. So if you open it up and you could even say, while you're trying to decide which ones you're going to keep and how you decide what not to keep, or if you want to list them all, and just kind of helps people when you open up a lot, if you think about it, to just flip your camera on and be like, okay, like this is good, or like, well, this isn't as good as I thought, because we all get bad lots sometimes. So that happens too. But I think you're doing a good job, and I'm not going to give you specific advice on like lot purchases yet because you're new. So you need to buy these lots, work through them, and then you'll learn these things for yourself. And you can come back and tell me how you did on your lots.
Okay. That sounds great. So, getting back to what brought that up in the first place, I was looking at the my purchases for my sourcing during that time, and I was surprised at how much money I spent. It was like $460, which, um, yeah, I didn't realize that I had spent that much money. So it's really good. My point being, really good for me to be looking at the numbers. It worked out to be, you can see like, I forget what the number was, but I got like 26, 29, 34, 38, 48. So about 54 items altogether. And it worked out to be about 1078 for the average cost of goods. Now, that was the week that I made all those purchases right before I went on my trip. I didn't list while I was on my trip, and I was away for like 10 days. But I didn't put my store on vacation, so I only listed one thing. I sold 6 things, and you can see, and this number right here, this number, $8.90, that was kind of like, what? What went wrong there? What happened there?
Right? Yep, it happens, and
Oh,
that's good that you it's good that you're doing this because so here you know what that here's what your the real it's gonna freak you out. So see that orange box right there?
yeah. Yeah, I was gonna ask you about all this stuff.
So these are what calculates for us, right? So these are
Uh-huh.
really important numbers because this is how we're doing within our business. Now, if you did mine right now, I did a huge buy on Sunday. So mine, if I did it week by week, it's going to be insane. That's why I keep my cost of goods rolling throughout the year. And if you go to your average cost of goods calculator, up at the top, there's a little box that keeps that number going all the time. Because some weeks you're going to have a big buy. Sometimes you're not going to find anything. So we do them on averages. But since you're new, I like how you're keeping track of things. You're doing a great job. So you don't need to change it. I'm just letting you know as you go, you can. So here's your average cost of goods there. So if you go clear up at the top on her workbook, this is one of my favorite things of her workbook.
Okay.
Oh, on the average cost of goods calculator. So go to the purple tab
Okay.
and clear up at the top of this. See right here, that little green box under column G.
Yes.
That's your rolling average cost of goods.
Oh, okay. I was wondering about that. I was expecting to see it at the bottom somewhere, but it's at the top.
It's right
Okay.
here, and it's a great tool because like I said, some weeks you might have a bunch of purchases and some weeks you won't have any. And when you're in this, if you come to the serious sellers call and you have everything you need for that call right here, because you're tracking your numbers, is you'll see some people have the same exact cost of goods for like 4 weeks in a row. Because people like me do it monthly, and then I'm just using this number because it hasn't really changed because I'm only updating monthly. That's why you see that.
Okay. Okay. That
But I
makes sense.
love that feature of her workbook.
Yeah, very cool. Now, this date right here,
Mhm.
will you explain to me a little bit about, because I was kind of wondering, but you've already answered my question about, you keep a notebook when you make a purchase and you wait for it to come in and see what it actually costs and what the actual charge was and what, how many items actually
It's
showed
just
up.
because 'cause I'm a pencil and paper person, but you could do it here.
Okay, I was gonna say, is this the date that of the purchase, correct? Not the date that it like shows up and that we can actually
Yep,
list it.
yep, and it's
Okay.
fine. And if you were off, it's not gonna matter as long as it happened in 2024 anyway. Not really. I
Yeah,
mean,
okay.
just pick a way you do it. The key to this workbook and the key to track your numbers is do it the same way every time. So whatever
Consistency.
way you choose, just keep doing it that way every time.
And like for instance, here in the number of items purchased, sometimes like you'll purchase an earring and a necklace set. Would you count that as one or two?
You mean that so that's gonna go together. It's one set.
One listing, yeah, in
So it's
one
each
listing.
listing. That's per
Okay,
listing. So let's say you buy
okay.
10 things in a box, but 5 sucked and you throw them out. That number's 5, not 10.
Gotcha. Okay.
And that
Good.
really, when you start buying lots, if you have a couple bad buys, you're really gonna notice it in your cost of goods because you thought you had 20 items for 20 bucks and now you have 5 listings for 20 bucks. It doesn't look as good.
Right. Okay.
And I do like that you're doing the vendor. You don't necessarily have to do that. Like I cheat, I'm gonna admit it, and I just do the number of items purchased and the cost because I
Uh-huh.
just want this rolling number. But being new, I really like that you're keeping track of it because what's gonna happen is you're gonna start recognizing these names and you can put a different colored note in there, like "Don't buy again," or "Was really great,"
Right.
things
I
like
was
that.
just thinking that somehow I could
Mhm.
include that, maybe like do a color coding thing or something.
Yeah, you totally could.
Mm-hmm.
No,
And
that's
then
very
just
good.
have everything in one place.
But when you go back to your total snapshot, that little green box, when you start, you'll get more and more and more data, and then it's gonna like, if you scroll up in this box, it's going to give you your snapshot for the see, it's gonna carry it forward and it's gonna keep your totals. So you don't have
Okay.
anything yet because you don't have your monthlies, because you're gonna do monthly, numbers within eBay,
Okay.
from your sales statement, from your eBay statement that you get every month, your seller statement, and
Okay.
it's gonna carry all that forward for you, and then this is gonna total up here, which I like.
Very good.
Well, yeah. So I think you're doing a great job. But that eBay net number, ideally we want that to be positive. So we're going to work on that. When you're new though, it just the fact that you're tracking it is winning, right? So we're winning and we're
Right.
learning. And I'm not hardcore about it, right? When people are starting out. Cause so like here's that net number. So for 2024, our average net profit per item is minus 12 cents. Right? Because here on the left-hand side, see how it's got that 2024 column? So that's
Yeah.
for the whole year. And then here's per week, right? But we're not in business just for a week. We're not in a business just for 2 weeks. So I look at more of a monthly overview more than week by week as far as these numbers go, because like I said, if you did mine today for a week by week, I would look really poor.
Okay.
So
Do you think I should go back to the very, well, I'm gonna have to go back to the very beginning for tax purposes and whatnot.
mhm.
So I'm just gonna have to chip away at that, go week by week back in time as I'm keeping up with the current. And then at one point in time, eventually I'll get to where I'm just doing the current.
Mhm. Yep.
And then I'll have a good snapshot when the end of the year comes to just exactly how I did. Cause, and when I started, a lot, just about everything, well, really everything that I was listing, I was things that came to me at no cost. So, um,
You
I
do still
imagine
get
that
a
would be a
give it a fair
boost.
market value for your cost of goods sold, just because it's not 100% profit, because if like let's say it came out of your closet, right? You still get to assign a fair market value to it, for
Okay,
tax purposes. So that's a good question for Cheryl. Cheryl explains that a lot better than I do.
okay,
So but it helps for your taxes. That does.
okay, all right, I'll do that.
Yep. Do you want to go to your eBay like overview page?
All
Very
right.
good.
I think I have the old dates on here, so let me
Okay.
reset that to, we'll just do the last 31.
Yep.
Uh, Okay, there we go.
And you're gonna have some residual effect from being gone. So eBay, even though you didn't put it on vacation mode, it knows you weren't active, right? And so it's gonna just take it a little bit to get to know you again, and it'll bounce back. You'll be fine.
Okay,
So on this page, your that blue box on the right hand side, that's an important box because
okay.
that's your net sales. So the one on the left hand side, that big number, it could be any number you want it to be. It doesn't matter. It matters what that blue box is. Because that's what goes into your bank account. Um, and then from that, then we have to take cost of goods sold too, right? So if you knew you'd spent $500 this month already, and your net sales are 399, that makes you go, I should probably check
Yeah,
this out, right?
for sure.
And your selling costs are really high. So let's look to see what's causing that. That's a high selling cost. 51.6% is high. Um, let's go into your go to the top and go choose advertising. I think is where I want to be. Yes, go to advertising. Let's see what you're promoting at. So scroll down, let's see your campaigns. Okay. So click on that where it says campaign.
This
You've
right
had the
here.
same, yep, you've had the same campaign since August, which is fine. And it says it's a, so do you choose to do you do suggested, it says your fixed rate. And you have it for different,
It
so do you,
usually suggests a certain amount, and I'll usually like at the time of.
mhm.
So I don't do this like in bulk. I do this per listing in the app usually. And
Okay, I must have missed it. Go back to your, go back to that other screen. Maybe I missed the campaigns because it should show them all. I might have missed it. If you, maybe I didn't have you, I don't see any other ones. So how many listings do you have in your store?
I think I have just around 300 right now. Here, I can look on my
Yeah,
phone.
so see that campaign shows that all of them are in.
Listings 259. So when
Scroll
I
that bar over. Scroll that bar over. There's something not right about this. So you have everything in a promoted listing campaign, but I think that's where your fees are coming from. So
so in the
you said you do suggested rate usually?
I usually go in and change it to 10%. Sometimes I don't. Just because I forget to look, I just will hit promote
Okay.
it. But I usually will go into in the app into selling and then active, and then there's a little bar above the listing that says promote it, and
Mm-hmm.
I'll click on that, and then I'll scroll down to the ad rate, like this one right here that I did earlier today. I haven't promoted yet, so when I did it just now, it says ad rate 12%. So I would usually click on that and change it to 10 and be done.
Okay, so most of them are at 10, you think?
Yeah, I think, well, the majority of the ones that I've done in the last 2 months. Yeah.
Okay. Because they just, I don't know why your fees seem really high. Go up to the top and then let's go to your performance tab. And let's look to see how they break that down. Go to sales. There you go. Scroll down and it will break down for us where your fees are coming from. So scroll down, see where it says all sales. And it
Yes.
says, so item sales, shipping, handling, tax, government. Go to promoted listing sales tab. See where right beside that, all sales, it says promoted sales. There you go. So that made up, really, you're doing really great. Your organic sales are really pretty good. Scroll down a little bit. It should figure out our
Okay.
fees for us.
Okay.
So see how it says here, here's your net sales, total selling costs, and see how it breaks it down? Total sales,
Yes.
taxes, government, total
Yes.
selling costs. Click on, we need to see what that is. So like your selling costs were $6.55 on a $7 item. That's a lot. So keep scrolling down. I think there's a fees section where we can open up the fees.
I don't know if this has anything to do with it or not, but my books I'm trying to get rid of, and so I've marked them down like really. I've been phasing them out, and so I marked them down really low,
Okay.
just to try to make a tiny bit of money before I actually just end the listing and give it away.
Okay.
So these three right here are books, and so that may have something to do with why that number is the way it is.
Okay. Yeah, that
But
makes
maybe
sense.
if we looked at something else,
Look at that bare minerals. See that? See your selling cost is almost half. Open up that sale. Let's open up that sale and just look at it and see. I'm not familiar with that category, so maybe your fees are just high. So go to order details at the top. It's a little further up there. View order details in the green. There you go. And let's scroll down and see, there you go. See, there it is. So here's your sales tax, your transaction fees. Go to see more details and it should break out all the So it's including the shipping. That's why that looks so high. Okay. So whenever you have question about what you're paying on something, where's all my money, you go right here and see how it breaks out every single thing they took out of your sale. You know, you have your shipping label, we have our promoted listing fee, and there's your regular fee. So there's your total breakdown of where your money goes, what happens. So it's it's sold for 2301, and then we took off our shipping label, we took off our promoted listing fee, and then we took off the $3.63 for our regular fee. So,
Okay, gotcha. All right, I'm following.
and if you ever need details, you just hit view right there where it says details, and it'll break it down for you.
I actually lost even more on this particular sale, and this brings me to another question that I wanted you to ask, and I don't know if you really want to cover this today or not, but maybe we can just remember to get back to it later. Is you see how the title here says 2 new Bare Essentials ID Bare Minerals Foundation.
Mhm.
I 98% of the time when I am doing a new listing, I will find one as close to the either exact or as close to as I can get to it, and I do the sell one like this. Okay, I'm more careful now about that than I used to be, but on this one it had the 2 in the title, and so the person messaged me and was like, I'm expecting to get both of those, when it was actually like I had a quantity of 2 and it was 2301 each, right? So of course I had to honor it at that point. I had to pay for that learning lesson. I'm much more careful about reading when I use somebody else, when I use the sell one like this feature. But I
When
was
you do,
curious if you list things from scratch?
so what happened, what's great, and you're kind of niching down to jewelry, so you'll be able to do this too. So what happens when and this is like, everybody's got their own opinion about this, but anybody that was in the two main reselling groups that we've been a part of, um, preaches the same thing. We don't use sell similar off other people's items. Why? Well, you learned a cheap lesson compared to my lesson. My lesson, I've been told, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. And I did that. And what happened is I sold a $75 bracelet and it automatically accepted like a $20 offer. And I was like, I didn't accept that offer. And I was mad. And I called eBay and I'm like, eBay had a glitch and accepted my offer. And I was all ticked off. And they can trace things in the back end to figure out where it came from. Well, I sold similar off somebody else's listing. And when you do that, it brings their business policies into your business. Their business policy was to
That
accept anything
explains something.
$20 and over.
Oh, I was wondering why some of those buried. I thought I had set those and then I would find them different. Okay, well, that explains that. Okay.
So you bring things into your business that you can't even see without going and looking. So
I didn't know that. Okay, so
shipping
good that you're doing
policies.
this.
So if you have somebody that has accept all offers for a penny or more and you bring that in, guess what's going to happen to your sales?
Okay.
And so I
Yeah.
learned that and I've never done it again. The great news is when you start, you get vintage jewelry or whatever kind of jewelry you're selling. There's a lot of it, but yet it's in pretty small categories, right? You've got bracelets and necklaces and earrings, right? You get some really perfect listings because that's not a great title anyway. Like that's not how we would title that item. So you don't learn how to title a good item if we're taking other people's bad titles to begin with, right? So once you get a perfect bracelet listing, you get a perfect necklace listing, you get a perfect, each category, then you sell similar off your own items.
Oh, that's so
So you
smart.
aren't
Okay.
you aren't going back from scratch because that's not great. Nobody really wants to do that either. I don't want to do that. So when you get some perfect listings, so you and I, when I go back and I review some of your listings, when you do jewelry and we get some perfect ones, you can sell similar off your own items. And then you're not pulling in any. Go to your shipping policies for me. I'm guaranteeing you will probably see a few that you don't want.
The
So
other
go
the other thing I wanted to ask you
Mhm.
and related to that too is where will I go to find that here?
Orders. I think if you
Okay,
just do orders, it'll take you to
yeah,
the.
shipping over here
Yep,
on the
down here towards the bottom, it says, shipping. You can go to business policies or shipping preferences down a little bit.
There we
There you
go.
go. So this is one page of shipping, okay? So we have two places we need to fix our shipping. This isn't where it brings in all the policies, but we need to look at it anyway. So you're
Okay.
enrolled in the eBay International. That's fantastic. It's good. Do you do same day
Automatically
ship?
got enrolled into that, and I wouldn't even know what to do if I had an
Um,
international buyer.
if you get one, you probably won't even notice because it's going to Illinois.
Okay.
So you'll be fine. And you treat
Okay.
it just like it's going to Illinois. Do you
All
do
right.
same day shipping?
Same day? No, I think I have it on 40. Oh, I thought I had it set on 2 day.
Okay. Um, so you have Monday through Friday as your working days. That's great. Um, this is where this is probably a little bit higher level shipping stuff. This is where we can say, hey, I want you to combine my shipping for me. This is where I want you to do my flat rate shipping rule. I have a rule that says, hey, anybody that spends over $50 in my store, they get free shipping. So this is where we do those things. But if you go up to the top and you go into just bring up your active listings or something, just go get it back to a go sell. Yep. It's so funny when you help people on eBay because so here down at the left hand side, see where it says business policies? Just click into there. There you go. Oh, you don't have any business policies, so that's fantastic. So you don't have any bad ones, you don't have any. So hit get started. We need some,
We need to get
yeah,
some
that's
set up.
it's much better than having bad ones. Do you have a store? Maybe it's because you don't have a store. Do you have a store?
I
I
do
think
have a
any,
store.
yeah, I think anybody can. So if you go to get started, do you do flat rate shipping or do you do calculated shipping?
I do calculate it, but it's on like 99% of the time it's like $4 and some change, like between 401 and 475 or something like that.
So go to payment. We'll look at your payment policies first. It's right there at the top, right above the, yeah, they're in weird spots on here. So this is a great screen to look at because it's something that people go, what happened? Where did my how did this happen to me? Did you click it? So you don't have any of those either. Okay. So I guess we need to create a policy.
I wonder if that is, I don't know if that is that them paying me or me getting paid by customers.
I think it has a little bit of both.
Okay, because right now, because of that debit card issue,
Mm.
they've been trying to get me to put another debit card in. I'm just waiting for this one to show up in the mail.
Okay,
So
so
I
hit
don't know
the
if that
create
would normally be here.
so hit create policies and I'm just going to show you one and then when you're by yourself you can try to set up and then ask me questions. So hit payment. We'll look at payment policies first.
Okay.
So this is see that little check mark right there? That's to set up to require immediate payment.
Mhm.
When they're using buy it now, it does not affect your auctions. It won't affect your offers. Buy it now. I don't use this because I'm okay with people building up carts. If you're not okay with that, you can require buy it now. So that is one policy that you can set up. A lot of people like it. I don't have any real problems with non-payers, so I leave it off. Just know that then that's going to make them pay right away, and it makes combined shipping a little wonky once in a while.
When you say building up carts, is that over a period of like days?
Well, that's an inaccurate way for me to say that. So they can put anything they want in their cart and we don't even know it, right? We can't ever see their actual cart.
Oh, it'll just
But
sit there unless somebody else
I will
cancels.
allow people to buy things like all week
Okay.
and then let them just pay for it once at the end of the week. And
Okay.
it doesn't bother me at all. I because they want to buy it so that then it's not available to anybody else. And so they don't miss out on it. But maybe they don't have the money or maybe they want to save on shipping all week. It doesn't bother me. I have people do that all the time.
Okay.
So it's totally up to you what works best for your business. But this is where you would set that up to require immediate payment if you chose to do that. Um,
Okay.
that down below that where it says allow offline payment,
Mhm.
I wouldn't necessarily recommend that, but if you ever did an in-person pickup, that's where you would have to choose that it allows them to give you a check money order, a cash on pickup type item. So if you're like, hey, mail me a check, you have these boxes, you have to have a policy for that or it won't let you do it. So just
Okay.
remember that. I don't do any local pickup. I sell online, so I don't have to see people. So,
Yeah,
um,
I'm not
but if you
enthused about
did, that's something that hangs people up. They're like, there's nowhere for me to allow local pickup. That's why.
doing that. Okay.
So you don't have to save anything right now. You can kind of think about how you want to do it. So you can hit cancel.
Okay.
And if you go to sell jewelry, mostly I would really highly recommend setting up some flat rate shipping, because jewelry's, pretty lightweight, it ships pretty cheap, and, you can do some research on if you think, what the going rate is for like a brooch or a pair of earrings or whatever, and see what you wanna charge. I charge 5.50 plus 50 cents each additional item. Doesn't mean you have to. That's just what my, small jewelry I keep that for everything, so sometimes I have to eat a little bit if it's something really heavy, but it all works out. And then I have, international direct shipping that is flat rate also. I wouldn't recommend that until you're really comfortable with it, because like, I did 3 flat rate shippings to China this morning, directly to China, and I wouldn't want you to mess with that necessarily until you're really comfortable with your shipping.
Okay.
eBay International, though, will take care of your international. It's just really expensive for people. That's the only drawback, is that it's expensive. So like today I shipped 5 or 6 items to China to one person for $18.
Wow.
And eBay charged them 48 bucks.
Wow, that's a huge difference.
Huge difference. So, once you get really comfortable with things, we can talk about if you choose to do any direct, but, you won't totally miss out on international sales because you have eBay International turned on. But this is where we would create your policies with shipping, so when you get to where you would like to do some flat rate shipping, let me know and we'll create, but then in your listings, what happens is you don't really have to mess with your shipping so much. You put the weight and the measurements in, and you check your policy. So you're just shipping by policy at that point, and it does help with your listing.
Okay. The other question I wanted to ask you about the listings, other than using sell one like this, is last night on the boot camp, I've seen that the subject of using the AI descriptions is not recommended, which I have been using up until this point, and I was just thinking today about like getting some better ideas about what to put in that space if you're not going to use the AI description.
And that's totally up to you. It's not wrong to use it. It's just it's very flowery. It's a little misleading sometimes, and if you don't proofread every single word in it, like that
Mhm.
lady said, it put a whole different item in that description. And if somebody buys it based on your description, you have to honor it. So that's just a really easy way to get an INAD sometimes. And we don't I know as a buyer, I read somebody and I can tell that they're just hitting that button for the AI description. It makes me think like, you can't, like, why are you, I know, but that's probably a seller thing in me. So my description is super, super light, and I basically just put any flaws in big letters at the top of my description to point out if there's any issues. You may put measurements, but people really, some people put a lot of time into their descriptions. I don't know that people read the descriptions I put in, which is almost nothing, let alone if we put a big flowery book in there, right? So any
That was my
relevant
thought, is I don't think many people read these.
It's relevant information that you need to sell your item. That's what our description should be. So we need to put our absolute most relevant information that people need to be able to buy the item correctly. So flaws, if you didn't have measurements anywhere else, measurements is a good place. Condition issues, smell issues, anything that's really relevant to the item. Otherwise, your picture should really be your best description.
Okay.
Have you done
Alrighty.
any jewelry listings recently?
I did some earlier today.
Just choose one out of the blue and I'll check it out for you. Also on, selling new things like that Bare Essentials or whatever, be careful selling new things because, like, I don't know anything about that brand, I really don't. But if it would happen to be a protective brand, you're not unauthorized distributor to sell new items for them.
And in the description, it only gives you two choices: new with box or new without box.
That's
So,
because you chose a new item. Well, yeah, you can't that's because you can't sell used cosmetics. There's your
right,
catch
that was
22.
my assumption, is that you're just not allowed to sell anything that's been used, which all mine are unopened. They still have the little sticker over the holes where the powder comes out, but they
There's
don't
just some
generally come in the box.
well, some of them brands will zero you because you're not an
I
authorized
need to look into
distributor.
that. I hadn't even thought about that, honestly. I hadn't
Yeah,
even,
just
and,
be
and,
careful with
and
new
I want
ones.
to say, well, a lot of other people are selling those, but those other people could be wrong too.
So in every single Vero
Good
category that I've, Stacia in our group, who's an amazing clothing seller, she got sat down and got put in eBay jail for a week for 2 Veros this week, and she is probably on top of the clothing, which I realized that wasn't clothing, but it's the same exact thing as, a couple items she got Veros on, and she's on top of things about as much as anybody. So it could happen to
Okay.
anybody, but absolutely there's a million. Tech always says everybody speeds, not everybody gets caught. And I don't want to be the one to get caught and get sat down by eBay. So
Yeah, me either.
that's my little spiel there.
All right, here's a listing for jewelry that I did earlier today.
Great. Perfect. So I believe in short, sweet, and to the point titles. That's just me. You can do them however you want. The first 5 words of your title are the very most important. So in those first 5 words, we need a brand name if there is one. We need to have what the item is. So it's how people are typing it. So if I'm going to go look for this item, the short sweet of it would be it's a vintage, like a vintage flower necklace, right? That's the short and sweet of it. So you have necklace as your last word. So if people are looking for a necklace, we want them to look at have that necklace right at the front,
Okay,
within the first 5 words. In my opinion, that's the
okay,
best way to do that. So we want to get in there in vintage first. There's a big, conspiracy on whether we put vintage first or whatever. In
okay,
jewelry, I think vintage being the first word works fine. So if I'm going to search for that, the first things I'm searching for is not vintage gold tone. It
okay.
might be vintage gold tone necklace, that's possible,
Mhm.
or vintage flower necklace, and I think either one is fine, or vintage lariat necklace. I think that's fine too.
Okay,
But that necklace needs to be in the top 3 words, in my opinion.
gotcha. Okay.
Otherwise, I think everything's really relevant. Um, I don't use gold tone anymore. Although you can test the theory for me here. Go to your scroll down to item specifics. I've had this issue today, and I had it yesterday too. Yeah, there we go. Well, you are a way better seller than me.
No,
I
this
fill
was
out,
this
I
was
fill out
this
almost.
was off of somebody else that had the same item.
Okay. So one of the issues that we run into, and you didn't here, so you're fine. I don't see any anyway, is that eBay has been liking to help us. So if we put gold tone in the title or gold as a color, it's been inserting metal purities. It's been
Yeah, I think I
automatically
noticed
putting like 10K in there.
that.
And I got an INAD for it yesterday, which was my fault. And I should have checked it, but we just have to be more careful. Um, so I'm assuming you went through all the item specifics and made sure they were correct before you listed it.
Right.
So I only fill out the most relevant of the item specifics, but you can fill out as many or as few or as many as you want. Again, we just need to do it to be where it's, the people have the most relevant information to be able to buy the item. So I think it looks good. From now on, we'll make sure we're doing them on our own type of thing. And in the
Right.
description here, if it had where on it, which I don't know if it did or not. I'm just saying I would put like sometimes I'll put some gold tone wear, missing a rhinestone, whatever that may be. And then lots of people have a little blip about like I put please follow my store. I list new jewelry items daily, or I'll put, click the heart by my name to save my store. I have over 2,000 pieces of jewelry, or I like to combine shipping. It's kind of like a personal thing. And then it's the same for everything. And then the flaws and any extra stuff on top. And that's
Oh,
how most people, I would say the people I see, in our group, that's how we do it. Doesn't mean you have to do it that way.
okay. All right, very good.
Yep. So it's just those first 5 words are absolutely important.
Well, and I'm in the process right now of going through all my titles and removing the, you remember I was telling you
Oh,
last
yep.
time that I tagged on its location in my inventory at the end.
Mhm.
So I can kind of revamp things, as I go through, because I know some of them, well, before, I've listened to some YouTube people talk about this, trying to, learn the tricks of the trade or whatnot.
Sure.
And there's some people that say you should use like all 80 characters and you should get as many different keywords in there as you possibly can. And then like some of the keywords are kind of weird though. It's like, I don't
So
know.
jewelry is in a whole life of its own on eBay for searching, and I will stand beside that for anything. I know how to title clothes. I know how to title all that because I've listened, and I would agree with that maybe over a year ago. that all 80 characters, it's a good idea. Their search algorithm changed it about a year ago and it completely changed. So how eBay feels about searches has completely changed, and they aren't all about the 80 characters anymore.
Oh,
It's more AI based, and it's trying to catch on what and I truly believe this. And well, I know it changed because it was terrible when it first changed. But I believe it needs to have as many words in it. And like I don't think yours is bad, right? So I see some, it's like you got to get those out of there. That's like if nobody's going to search it that way. So if I'm going to type it in and I'm looking for this item, am I going to type in vintage gold tone lariat slide bolo tie rose flower pendant necklace? Right? So it's confusing to the algorithm a little bit.
okay.
I try to shorten it up so that it's what people are going to type in when they try to find it. If there's a relevant keyword on the back end, then I will put one in. Do not fill up your title full of unnecessary keywords. Sometimes mine says vintage rhinestone brooch.
Okay. Okay.
I'm not saying that's what yours should. I'm just saying that's how short mine are sometimes. But I think yours is not terrible. It's not terrible except for the fact that necklace needs to be way up at the front.
Okay. So I'm gonna keep that in mind. Like the most important words need to be in the first 5.
Closer to the front. So like brooch, necklace, bracelet, ring, all those are in my first 3 words usually,
Okay. All right, great.
but not terrible. And then see how you could go and you could sell similar off your own item, like if you had another vintage necklace. And then yes, you have to change the item specifics and you have to change things, but you'll get to where you have really good listings that are pretty darn close.
Okay.
And
Great.
that will help you. So
Okay,
I think
information.
you're actually doing really good. You're not doing bad at all. So that's probably a little cheap, but I guess I'd rather you as a new seller be on the cheap side than too expensive. Um,
I did that off of sold comps. I found a few of the same exact things on eBay
okay,
sold.
then that's
So,
great. Yeah, some things
and
right now
right
just aren't
now, I'm sorry, I didn't mean
super
to
hot.
interrupt you, but I
No,
was
you're
gonna
fine.
say right now, I feel like I need to put a little more weight on the creating cash flow side than on
Hmm.
the trying to max out the profit side.
Nope, that's good.
I'd
You're
like
not,
to think that maybe in the future, I can start inching the other, down the other way of the scale.
your pictures look nice. So that's good. I mean, that front picture looks really nice.
Yeah, I was
Hmm.
happy with how these turned out. I'm not always happy with how they turned out, but these ones are okay.
Yeah, they look good.
So,
And I take a big zoom in, like, if anything has a flaw, I make sure it's really clear in the pictures.
okay.
Because I do sell things with flaws sometimes. Some people do, some people don't. I do. So I think you're doing really good.
All right, well, thank you. I'm
Have
excited. I'm
you,
excited. I was a little disappointed in the numbers, but I thought, well, that's why I'm doing this is so that I can turn things around and just be more aware and start
you're
making.
so new in the game, you're going to be fine. The fact that you know that you need to track these numbers, the fact that you are taking time to track the numbers, the fact that you're making these little changes so early on, you're good because it's when people get stuck in their ways and they've been doing it the same way for 2 years, but it's not working, and now they have 2,000 listings and it's not going back and fixing all that is really hard. This isn't hard. This is just learning. You're good. You're fine.
All
Nope,
right.
you're
Well, thank
doing great. Have you stalked my store yet? It seems like everybody likes to do that
No,
when you.
but I don't know what your store is, so I would like to, but I, I don't know what it is.
Well, everybody says that I shouldn't share my store when I'm trying to show everybody what to do, I just go on my store. And I'm like, I get very aggressively helpful people that are like, you need to change this or this, it's just funny how many people see it
Not
on the
looking for
videos, my
advice.
store, and it doesn't bother me. I'm like, it's fine. It doesn't bother me at all. All
Yeah.
right. Well, I appreciate it. And next time, let's try to find make 3 of like your very best listings that you want me to review for you. And then
Okay.
I'm not gonna pick it apart like you've been selling for a year or 2, but
Okay.
I will give you suggestions from top to bottom because it's gonna be your listing. So we're not gonna be looking at somebody else's listing that you copied. We're gonna look at your own. And
Okay.
um, and that will help keep your numbers up. We'll review your numbers again. Hopefully we'll see those all going up. If it doesn't for a little bit, like I said, we're not in business for a week. We're not in business just for a day. It'll be fine as long as we're making steady improvements. But when your store's new, it's kind of hard like that. So you're good. All right. Well, I appreciate it, and we will hang on here after I stop the recording.
Okay.
Um, we appreciate Audrey coming on with us, and we will meet with her again next week after the boot camp on Monday. And we'll see her then. Thank you very much, Audrey.